Right, Mazda.
That
Uh-huh.
that symbol is ancient, and that's another that's another thing I connected.
So let me read this real quick. It
Hmm.
says, uh, there is one God named Ahura Mazda. He is the
Hmm.
good and perfect creator who is all powerful and all knowing, all wise, perfect, and beneficent.
Mm,
But
mm,
Ahura Mazda has an evil twin named Angra Manu. Am I saying that right? Manu?
mm.
Manu? Manu. It says Angra Manu is co-equal and co-eternal with God, and is the source of all evil and corruption. So it's almost like you're talking about like this Satan and this Jesus, this good and evil that's happening, this battle between the two. And it's kind of funny because he said that's his evil twin, like they're brothers. And isn't that
Jacob and
similar?
Esau.
Yeah, yeah. It's always like
Hmm.
these twins or these brothers that are one is good and one is bad, and but then it's like the good and bad is our perspective, right? Because what you consider good, someone considers bad, and what someone considers bad, someone considers good. So it's all perspective
Hmm.
at that point. But it's interesting here. It says humanity must resist evil as they participate in its battle as well. Christians and Jews, on the other hand, believe that God is the source of both good and evil. Islam holds that it's fundamental to believe that everything good or bad originates from God, that only natural occurrences, such as sickness and natural disasters, or human choice to defy God's commands, may be considered evil or terrible. Wow. It says what is interesting is that Zoroastrians' understanding for their God being the ultimate supreme, since he is opposition to quarrel with his polarity, something you don't see within the Abrahamic faiths, interestingly enough. All right, so if you guys have not ever checked out this article that we do have on the website, once again, that's velvet-door.com, and it is Zoroastrianism. Definitely check out this article. It's called Iran's Ancient Religion, and it breaks down pretty much once again how Christianity was very much seems like influenced by this early understanding. And it's what I also find interesting is that I'm willing to bet that most of the paintings that's in this article that you used, I'm pretty sure most of these paintings were probably made in like the 15, if that, 16, 1700s. So
Hmm.
even the depictions, and just kind of going back to my write up about the fake portraits of the founding fathers, um, it just kind of goes into the idea that, what we are envisioning a lot of times is sculpted, is sculpting, and they want you to see something off of how they want you to view history, whether it looks like that or not. So the importance of arts and craft. I mean, it's called arts and craft because it really is a craft to sculpt someone's reality based upon what you put on a plain palette, pretty much. And you're gonna literally change that person's trajectory and how they even process things. So even when people say that, like, you see a white Jesus, right? And since you were a kid, you've been seeing this white Jesus, that even now as an adult, when you are understanding the true identity of what Jesus would look like, you still cannot take out the subconscious memory of that white depiction, right? And that's literally arts and craft. That's why it's called that because at that point,
Mm.
I've already programmed you with my art to see a reality a certain way. And you can't to be honest, I have to say can't, because you still can reprogram. You can it's called reprogramming, but you're already programmed. You know what I'm saying? You already see life in a different realm, and it's in your subconscious, and you cannot delete what's in your subconscious. And your subconscious cannot decipher what's real or what's fake. Everything that goes to your subconscious is as is. So it's very interesting how they even use the art to shape our reality. Same thing with the entertainment, because that's art, it's entertainment. Um, a lot of entertainment shapes our reality, you know. Um, what you see in a movie, a lot of times people will act that out in real life. What you hear in a song, a lot of times people will act this out in real life. And whether they know it or not, you're just gonna do it sometimes. Sometimes you will hear a word or saying that's said in a movie or a song, and you might actually start saying that every day. And you're just like, you just having fun with it, but that's what you're supposed to do. That's what the entertainment and the arts, that's what it's supposed to do. Like you call it witchcraft, arts and craft. It's a craft, and you have to practice your craft, and that's why it's a powerful something. um yeah, we'll have to get into that topic another day about the art, and how art literally literally shapes our life every day, and it's a dangerous and it's a powerful tool, and that's why no art is bad art, right? Because what
Agreed.
we consider scribble, you got people right now literally digging up rocks that they're claiming are from 10, 20,000 years ago, and you would say it looks like scribble, but that right now is prestige art. So who's to say that scribble today won't be prestige art 20, 30,000 years from now? You know what I'm saying?
Priceless.
You get what I'm saying? So a lot of times, there is no bad art. There's no such thing as a bad art, because all art tells a story. All art can predict a reality. All right, so we talked about, once again, Ash. I really get confused saying this. So Zoroastrianism. We talked about Saturn. We talked about Kronos. And how did we forget this? We have to specify this. Kronos is Santa Claus. Hello, it's about to be Christmas.
Ooh, you
we
better
we gotta
stop it.
we
You
gotta
said
bring
Black
that
Pete?
up.
Black
We
Pete?
gotta bring it up. We're talking about Chrono, talking about eating children. We're talking about Santa Claus. We're talking about the man in the red suit who's come down your chimney, sending gifts to random little kids. If you're naughty or nice,
He,
you
hey,
know.
and he'll
Yeah, go
he'll
ahead.
he'll even yo, cause the Dutch Black Pete would were the curly headed melanated helpers of Santa Claus. That's Dutch, right? Netherlands, right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
the Black Pete's would be the helpers of Santa Claus. And what you have here is, now you see some depictions in the Netherlands of um of these modern day Dutchmen in blackface and with these afro wigs. And what's the key here is the Creole earrings, right? And if you're curious about what a Creole earring is, it's a gold hoop. You see what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That
Now,
sounds very Moorish.
see, exactly,
It
because
sound it also sounds very much like a pirate. But I'm gonna mute my mic.
see, that's what I'm saying, because in that Dutch, in that Dutch tradition, Santa Claus and his little black Pete's is coming from where? The Iberian Peninsula, Al Andalus. You see what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah,
Wake
and
it
see,
up. Wake it up.
look, and then when you do see, look, and I came across this, maybe I'm weird with dates, right? Maybe about 8 weeks ago, right? So 8 weeks ago, I'm like, okay, so the gold hoops have been in, right? So, okay, bet. So I'm doing my research. And at this point in time, it's kind of funny, I'm over here researching about hoops. You feel what I'm saying? And, growing up you know, in America, in the generation of today, You feel what I'm saying? They've made that really I can't even say they've made that. I'm sorry. It has become a staple of, so-called black culture, right? You go in the beauty store, you hoops of all types. You got the bamboos. You feel what I'm saying? You got the simple hoops, all of that varying widths, and even far as today in dress, like everyone has what we now know as hoops, but it's originally called Creole earrings. But looking into the history, it's showing an interesting clues, right? Because when you look into it, they're called Creole earrings for a reason. So it's specifically saying that, um, you know, from being brought about from the process of not just Spanish, but also German, Dutch, Danish, um, Italian, um, you know, English on colonization. What you have is, as we all know, that cast, which is going to be specifying, a mix, for example, a Creole. You see what I'm saying? Speaking loosely, of course, with all due respect to, you know, the whole nine. Um, but specifically, it denotes, those being from either African, indigenous, in the European of said region. You see what I'm saying? So it's, you know, um, in my cross references is making specific note to the fact of who are wearing these earrings, and even in their depictions of Black Pete, like you said, it looks like a pirate, it looks like a Sephardi. You see what I'm saying? And and that's the
All
thing.
right. All right, now
Ooh,
hold on, hold
yeah,
on, hold
stop
on,
me,
hold
because I
on
was about to
now.
dig in. I'm glad you stopped
Wait,
me.
wait.
I was about to
Because
snap.
I wanna tie this together though. Because wait a minute, because you know me, um, I it's like a piece of me wants to kind of just go in with you, and that piece of me just wants you to cook, right? I want you to cook, but what I'm gonna do,
Prudence.
I'm just gonna make sure the audience is not getting lost, right? Because they
Agreed.
can get easily lost because they're gonna be like, "What? A earring? What are we talking about here?" Right? So let's go
Mm-hmm.
back. Let's go back for a second. Okay, we're talking about Santa Claus, his Black Pete. Now, the Black Pete's you said were the helpers, right? 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 You there? Right?
Mm-hmm. Aha. Mm-hmm. That's yes and Tutelo.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you got your Black Pete, right? Now, the Black Peach, you said they wore an earring. Is that what I'm hearing, right? Right?
Correct.
Okay. Black Pete's wore an earring. All right. These the Black Pete's have an origin that can place them into the Iberian Peninsula. Correct?
Correct.
Iberian Peninsula is also located North Africa. Correct?
Facts.
Okay. So we're talking about Santa Claus. He had Black Pete's helpers, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
when we hear the story of Santa Claus, though, we hear the story of his helpers being these little elves at the North Pole. How would you translate that, though? Being that they're calling them elves at the North Pole, how would you translate that to what you're trying to say now?
Mm. Dang. Listen. It's letting you know. It's letting you know in this subtle way that, um these are different people in a way. You see what I'm saying? For a fact, because when you're looking at the fact that these are Dutch people who are talking about Santa Claus coming, but he's coming from Al Andalus with his little melanated, companions, like you said, correlating that with the North Pole. Um, and then also correlating to the fact that when you look at the poles of Saturn, what do you see? You see a storm. I believe, yeah, there's storms on the poles of Saturn. You feel what I'm saying? There's a storm that's like 12 times the size of Earth on Jupiter. You feel what I'm saying? And what we're talking about here is we're talking about these um ooh, dang. We're talking about these compositions, these conglomerations of, energy of all sorts and types, degrees. Um, and so, and like you brought up, thinking about these elves, these helpers coming from the North Pole, we're talking about like that's deep. You feel what I'm saying? Because you know, thinking about the way we just described the little helpers, the Black Pete's, the elves. How are elves depicted within modern day contemporary pop culture? Whenever it comes to movies, comics, video games, you look at Lord of the Rings. The elves, they might as well be immortal. Like they're fast, and you see what I'm saying. Like Legolas, um, he's quick with that bow and arrow. It's funny, it's funny. He's looking at that now. You see how fast Legolas like would shoot his bow and arrow. That's the same way they would describe the way um American Indians would sling their bow. And like you see what I'm saying, like the way they would describe their interactions with a lot of these first contact tribes, specifically the three confederations of the Monacan, right? 1608. You have um I think it was John Smith. I believe it was John Smith, and he
Wait, wait, wait,
has.
wait, 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 wait,
Mm-hmm.
wait. Before you
Ooh,
continue.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go back, because you're going way into another deep end.
The elves, the
Right, the
elves,
elves.
the
So,
magic,
so
the
okay,
knowledge,
so you're saying that these elves.
immortal life.
Okay,
Interesting, right?
so are they Moors? Like, you got to make it clear, what are elves in the story
Well,
of
see,
Santa Claus?
and that's the thing with the story of Santa Claus. If you are looking at that Dutch root, and we all know that whenever we are looking at Rhode Island, New York, a lot of Dutch influence, right? I believe that's primarily where Santa Claus is coming from, as far as our gathering of it here, as far as colonial history goes, right? And like you said, looking at the Dutch origin of the story, these little these helpers, you know, who are now called elves, which is interesting thinking about it that way, right? It is specifically noted that the jewelry, like they're specifically Creole earrings. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, and it's that type of specificity is like, okay, what are y'all trying to like see? And I guess that's them trying to, I guess karmically, if they don't let us know, then I get, if they do let us know in a way, even if we don't pick it up, then I guess you see what I'm saying, where I'm going with that.
Hmm. Right, right.
So that Creole, you see what I'm saying, and
And what exactly is a Creole?
a Creole, far as a loose approximation for as the definition, I definitely say it's a mix between um colonization powers and the indigenous peoples there, and many of the peoples who have, who come into the area voluntarily and involuntarily.
Right. So Creole,
Mhm.
yeah, Creole is just mixed. That's what it just means. It means somebody has a mixed culture, right?
Exactly.
Right. So if
Mhm.
somebody has a Creole earring, it's like it's like what does that even mean? You have a mixed earring? Like what are they mixed with? What are you talking about? So just to kind of sum that up. So what you're saying is that because I like to get to the point of things so they make it easier for people that's listening, is that the elves or the helpers of Santa would be what? These Moors. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Precisely.
Okay, precisely. And we know that also if you're dealing with Ireland, if you're dealing with elves or short people, Smurfs, you also would deal with some of the pygmy people and different indigenous Aborigine people.
Hmm.
And you were just about to go into the American Indian, also depiction of elves with the bow and the arrow. Um, Before we go into that though, because I want to stick on that on the Moorish part because like I said, that is a piece of history that a lot of people don't quite understand. And the way how you just connected Santa Claus to the Iberian Peninsula, I'm gonna tell you right now, that's gonna go over a lot of people's heads. So you is that right there, that's not a topic where you can just kind of breeze by it. And it's like Santa
That's
Claus,
not casual bar talk at all.
yeah, you can't breeze by that. Somebody's gonna say, hey man, he's gonna have to explain that one. Okay, but the reason why we even brought up Santa Claus is because we were talking about Kronos and how Kronos is Santa Claus, literally. Um, so let's check this out. Let's just build on this for a quick. If Santa Claus is attacking children or giving gifts to children, because it depends if you're naughty or nice, right?
He steals them too up the chimney. Yeah.
Right. He steals them too, right? He has helpers, right? These helpers are doing what for Santa Claus? What are they doing? Supplying what? Children?
Mm. Hmm.
I just want to know, are they supplying children? Because if they're helping, you're doing one of two things. Either you're helping me get to my destination to take what I gotta take or get what I gotta get. Or you're giving me supplies that I need to get on my destinations, right? Either way it goes, these helpers are helping and facilitating something for someone that's gonna do some evil shit.
That black cube. We talking about that black cube. You
so these
talking?
black these black PD, these little people that are helping
Whoa.
with their Creole earrings, what are they doing for Santa when they're helping? What
Ma-
do you think they're doing?
so here's what they're doing, right? Okay, so for one, they have that stereotypical bakery in the North Pole that's made of gingerbread that's covered in snow. You see what I'm saying? It's a blizzard going on, and you got a bunch of elves, in their little Keebler outfits, right? And they're baking cookies for all the little children, right? They're making the toys to entertain the children. That's crazy. Wow, it's crazy.
Hmm.
Um, what else are they doing? Essentially from what we've seen, look, Polar Express. This gives the Polar Express a whole different meaning because when you see that it's the Black Pete's that are literally running the North Pole, like
Mm-hmm.
Sinterklaas, Sinter, Sinterklaas. You
Mm-hmm.
feel what I'm saying? He's not doing anything with, and Mrs. Claus. You know, I guess we know why there's so many blizzards. You feel what I'm saying? Down here in the South, they
Hmm.
say whenever it's raining, when the sun's out, it means the devil's beating his wife. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? So many blizzards.
Mm.
It's cold in the north out here.
Yeah. Ah, okay. So
So
so so let's
yeah,
go back. So you said that so the little Petey's they're running the North Pole. They run
yes,
that.
yes.
And
You
they
see
are
them trains?
facilitating
Mm.
and they're facilitating the duties that Santa Claus needs to do what he got to do, right?
Who are these reindeers? Who's Comet and Vixen?
Right. Who are
Ooh,
they?
whoa, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, BRB.
Right. Who is Comic Vixen? Because basically, from what I'm understanding, and this to everybody listening, um, I think that this is my first time actually hearing that analogy. But as he's saying it, it is kind of making more sense to me. Who are the helpers? Because if we know the story of Kronos and we could tie that to Santa Claus, cool. But then who is the depiction of his wife? Who is the depiction of the helpers? And who are the depictions of the reindeer, right? If we're dealing with the Netherlands, we're dealing with the Dutch, we're dealing with a lot of these different areas, then we are dealing with kind of almost like that Nordic kind of region. So we are dealing with that upper northern hemisphere of the planet, or so they say, right? Because other people have their opinions about how the planet is shaped. Um, so if you're dealing with that particular region, and we had these little helpers, these little PDs, black PDs at that, they're called black PDs, and they're helping Santa Claus. If I was to give my wild guess in my analogy based upon what I'm hearing, it sounds like these black PDs were helping to steal children. Um, and they probably are part of the problem. Now, if we would talk about the role that a Moors played in modern day colonization, Moors were a part of the problem. Moors were a part of making sure that colonizers knew the languages. They knew how to talk to the indigenous people by being interpreters. A lot of the Moors were giving up the trade routes. They were um, they were able to get into certain tribes and become cool with them so they can give up the gems on where certain things were located. You could even say that Morris had children with some of these indigenous people so that they had a way to manipulate that child sometimes to become almost like a third party source of intel so that that particular connection with Europe can continue going, right? Um, so, you know, that's not saying that or Moors are bad in history. That's not saying that. But when it comes to colonization of the Americas, we're talking about the Americas, they definitely play a major role inside of how a lot of those people from the Eastern Hemisphere were able to start finding key locations because they didn't just come to random locations, right? It was key locations that they were coming to, and they knew to come to those locations because obviously somebody tipped them off about port or something or a certain natural resource that may have been in that area that they wanted to get to. So like I said, if I was to give my wild guess on who these black PDs were, I would definitely have to say this sounds like these Moors is doing what Moors do. They're facilitating the waters, the travels. They make sure that people get from point A to point B. And whether or not point A from point B is to do some good intent or bad intent, they're going to make sure you get where you got to go. Right. So with the story of Kronos, we know Kronos was definitely kidnapping children and killing them. No different than what we call Peter Pan, right? The story of Peter Pan, and we can break down that esoteric occult understanding of Peter Pan and how he also was luring children into the woods and then killing them, kidnapping and harming them, right? Is all these like crazy kid stories always have like this weird thing where they're like being lured into some dark place and then they're just killed or kidnapped. You know what I'm saying? Like it's never like if you think of like a lot of the kids' stories, they have really sinister, deeper understandings. Like and
The
it's like
pipe.
a go
You
ahead,
know
go ahead.
the children who were lured out to the city by the Pied Piper. You know that city actually like has contextual history of those children actually going missing,
That is insane. What is the name of the city?
right? Oh my gosh. the rabbit holes we go on. Let me find out,
Right.
because I actually just came
Yeah.
across this. I know it's probably like photo number 80 in the most recent screenshots. But let me look that up right quick because I need to know.
Yeah,
Um
yeah, bring that up real quick because that's interesting because yeah, Peter Pan, that story, the Pied Piper, like you said, he plays the music, lures the children into the woods, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just ended up missing, harmed, or whatever. Um, but these are children books. These are cartoons that our kids watch, that even we watched, and we didn't see no harm in it because they don't outwardly predict per um show that or advertise that in the cartoon. Same thing with Santa Claus. Like you don't advertise that. The only thing we get is are you naughty or nice. And I think even like the wordplay of saying naughty, that even sounds very like promiscuous.
you know what I mean? It does. And see, but it's not surprising though, because whenever you look into this history, it makes sense why those types of doublespeak innuendos are present within something that's supposed to be some type of family celebration. And even when
Right.
you look into the Pied Piper, what's I have a source open now. Hamlin. Okay. Okay, Hamlin is the city. Now it's
Mm.
interesting. That's the name of the city.
Okay.
And it's interesting. It's proposed that the children were born away to participate in a children's crusade in which hordes of the children and youth would attempt to reclaim Jerusalem. Interesting. Because I was recently doing genealogy, and this is how much I do genealogy nowadays. I can't remember if it was genealogy on some of my European royal lines, or if I was doing like research on some monarchies lineage, because that's how you really see a lot of what's going on here. Because the city came up, Hamlin, and I was like, oh, okay, that's crazy. The Pied Piper, there's a record of the children actually going missing. And someone's genealogy I was looking up, one of the relatives were one of those children, and sinister in a way. Um, Indeed. Now, um, and you hear me, right?
Yes, I do hear you. Go
Okay,
ahead.
fantastic. Now, what's also interesting, right, is when you're wondering why. I got a couple of things here. All right, here, I'm gonna drop this first. So, according to, like you said, we're talking about that northern region, um, you know, Danish, North Scandinavian, basically a lot of where the Vikings are coming from, right? Which makes sense, and as well as many of these Germanic peoples, as well, holding many different pantheons within their religious beliefs, similar to many of the Scandinavian and Norse gods, right? The Norse pantheon, like Woden and Odin and Thor, and the likes of them, Loki included. So what it's saying here is, basically it's saying that the reindeer is going to be relevant for as the Arctic peoples. It was a source of food, and um the last animals to be truly domesticated in the north, the reindeer, also known as the caribou. It says cultures ranging as far as Mongolia, Canada, Scandinavia, like we just brought up, feature reindeer prominently throughout their legends and stories. You feel what I'm saying? And it's basically saying here that um, early Christian church leaders looking to convert pagans to their beliefs more readily decided to combine a celebration of Jesus Christ's birth with existing pagan holidays. And it says here Germanic and Nordic peoples would often celebrate the winter solstice as a tribute to the gods at the head of their pantheon. And then it says here Odin or Woden was a fatherly god and mythical hunter who would lead his warriors on a wild hunt during this time. And he do so on the back of an eight-legged horse named Sleipnir, spelled Sleipner. Children would leave boots filled with hay and carrots for Sleipnir, and Odin was said to leave them gifts in return. Mm, milk and cookies. How did milk and cookies get to milk and cookies from
Mm,
hay and carrots for the reindeer? Far as the
mm.
Germanic, you feel what or the Viking, because this is Viking
And
stuff.
and to go back to the Pied Piper of Hamlin,
Hmm.
um, it's very interesting because when I read the story about Hamlin, like you said, it is an actual city, and his name is Pan Piper or the Rat Catcher of Hamlin. And I'm going to show the contradiction of what they're trying to say because they're saying that the story is really about luring a rat with the actual flute, that he was playing music and he would wear the colorful outfit to attract the rat, because of the town or the city of Hamlin was getting infested with rats. Right now, here's where it don't make no sense because
The plague.
it says that the phrase Pied Piper has been a metaphor for a person who attracts a following through charisma or false promises. So what would that have to do with rats? That has nothing to do with rats. Like
The
if you're a rat catcher, you're a rat catcher. Uh, what would having a persona? Your rat can't read your persona. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you have food or not? Are you gonna be feeding us or not? Well, that's it. It's just an animal. But if you're called the Pied Piper, that means that you're actually persuading someone or something. And most of the time, that was another human. Now, when you look at the 1592 painting of Pied Piper, and I want you to understand that I just read that it says that the story is about rats, right? Now, this is modern day what they're saying because they're trying to interpret it and they're trying to also give it another story. But if you look at the 1592 painting and you look in the back of this painting, you'll see the Pied Piper playing the music, and you see these little people. That's not rats, okay? There's clearly like little tiny
mm,
people, and they're being led up to a mountain and the mountain looks like it has maybe like a hole in it or something, and look like some type of, I don't know if that's a guillotine. I don't know what that
hmm
is up there, but it says, what does it say up there? It says the Mons Cult World or something like that. We have to search that
That's
up.
but see that's the thing.
Mhm.
If you remember, Christmas was banned in New York for a time.
Right.
And when you go back into history and you look at why, um,
And this is
is
why. This is definitely why.
yeah, exactly.
Because now that's the 1592 painting that I just talked about. But if you look at the 1902 postcard of Hamlin, or there's another painting in 1909, and this is a mural at the Palace of Hotel of San Francisco. This is modern day San Francisco, right? So the postcard
Mm,
1902, you see a bunch of little rats like running out of buildings, and then you see the Pied Piper playing the music, right? And then in the 1909 mural I was just talking about in San Francisco, inside of a hotel, you actually see the Pied Piper playing the field, and you see children, like bunches of children just following him run. It's like they're running with him into like a wood, because you see the trees, you see the woods, you can tell like they're out of the city because it's like it's natural landscape around them. So it's
you
kind of
said a
funny how,
guillotine.
yeah, because in the
Ooh,
1592 it looked like there's like some type of like whatever that is up there. It's not a house. So what is that? Like what is that up there? It looks like some type of device. You can't really tell what it is. Like if you actually, for anyone that is following it, go on Wikipedia and look up Pied Piper of Hamelin, and you're gonna see a 1592 painting of Pied Piper. It's a glass window depiction of him, and you're going to see like if you zoom in and look at the top of the mountain where the Pied Piper is actually leading these little children up the mountain. And like in the mountain, it's like this little dark area. It looks like almost like a crack. Like if you go in there, you'll probably fall in. But like you could clearly see like there's a path, and the Pied Pipers lean them into it. Now, if you look also into the background,
I see it.
you see that? Okay. If you look also into the background, I could be stretching it. I don't know. I'm probably stretching it. You'll see different Pied Pipers. So look at the bottom of that card. You see a boat. You see a man right there playing a flute, right? He's playing a flute as well, and there's somebody on that boat. Let's see. Let's go over here. You also see you see like these little animals right there. They're over there by the trees. Um, it almost looks like if you zoom in close by the trees, at the bottom of the trees, it looks
That's a
like those
silhouette.
are those are silhouettes. It looks like
Yep,
one silhouette has a hand up, like it's about to attack somebody. Do you see that?
I do see that. I'm
You
looking
see
at
that,
that right
right?
now. Mm-hmm.
It looked like a silhouette. It's about to like the arm is up. It's about to like hit somebody or something. It's funny how there's like always in the trees. You see something like crazy going on.
In the cut.
Um, in the cut. Look at the top of the tree. So look at the tree that's towards the left, and at the top of that tree, do you see like a little kid at the top of the tree, like it's climbing up?
Like it's
You see
running.
that? Like it's running, like it's
Yes.
climb up the tree. You see that?
Oh,
Okay.
whoa.
Yo, this is crazy, right?
Whoa. And you see the kid at the bottom? Like
Yeah, I see the
that
kid at
has
the
to be a
bottom.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a kid at the bottom. And then if I'm not mistaken, like I said, I could be stretching it with this. But
Do
if
you
you
see that?
look at the hills, look at the hills, right? Does it look like tombstones? I don't know. It looks like it could be trees, it could be tombstones. I don't
But
know.
the trees that they've shown us in the forefront don't look like those,
In
you
the
know,
back,
exactly.
way in the back, it looks like some type of like rounded top, like a rounded top structure. Like it could be a tombstone, could not be. I don't know. But yeah, if you look at a lot of these paintings from those days, they're very, very, very detailed. And remember, this is 1592. This is not that long ago, because that's coming right into 1600s.
Hmm.
1600s, they're establishing settlements. Matter of fact, it was in the late 1500s, mid 1500s, that they had their first British colony on the eastern seaboard. They were trying to get into Virginia. Remember, they had the Roanoke. They were trying to do the Roanoke colony, and that got lost. That was around like 1520 something. So when this is being depicted, this is right at the time of them coming into the Americas.
Hmm.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. So like I
You
said,
know, but you know
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
what's key too is the fact that while Britain's over here trying to fight off France while also fighting the indigenous people here and then allying themselves with some of the indigenous people here, they were fighting wars here and in Europe at the same time, right? And then when you look at the fact of who was helping Britain, it was Prussia. You feel what I'm saying? Most often times while Britain was over here, fighting their wars, Prussia was fighting, their enemy. You feel what I'm saying? So, even thinking about the wars and thinking about, even the fact of, all of the orphans that are even coming from, that end of reality. And then thinking about, like you said, the Americas as well, Peter Pan, you got Captain Hook. Why is there a Sephardic dude in the story of the Pied Piper?
Mm. Sephardic, really? Hmm.
Little
I didn't see this.
Barbarossa. You feel what I'm saying?
Who,
Barbarossa
so who?
is, look, that's
Yeah, who's
Spanish.
that?
That's Spanish for Redbeard. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh, so who's Barbarossa?
Spanish. Barbarossa is not going to be necessarily connecting to Captain Hook, but just to kind of tie in that Sephardic link. You feel what I'm saying? Why
Hmm.
is Barbarossa one of the most famous pirates? And but why is it emphasized that that's a Spanish last name? You feel what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Look at Perry Reese. Perry Reese, he's coming from the a family who was expelled. But as we all know now, no, not all of them left. Not all of them expelled. Not all of them had to leave. You feel what I'm saying? Rosa. So Barbarossa, that's Redbeard in Spanish. However, whenever they do describe pirates within history, you're not really often seeing the the fact that many of the pirates, a good number of them are actually Sephardic expolees. Many of them former, um, you know, um, actual crews of men, like former corsairs, privateers. Um, you know, but however, that's not emphasized. You feel what I'm saying? And Barbarossa doesn't necessarily connect to Captain Hook necessarily, but even the idea of Captain Hook being present within the story of Peter Pan, you feel what I'm saying? Knowing the historical significance of the Sephardic Jews and in history with piracy and the fact that when you are looking at the Barbary Wars, right? These are going to be many pirates who have colonized North Africa. Whenever you are even looking further back into history, you hear me, right? Oh,
Yes, I hear you. Yes.
okay, okay, good. Now, did you hear me bring up Perry Reese before?
I think you brought up briefly.
Okay, so Perry Reese, he's coming from a family of expelled Jews, right? From the Sephardic, um, Iberian Peninsula. So what ends up happening is he turns to piracy, right? And he forms enough resources, enough men, and a big enough fleet to take over the Algiers, which was at the time occupied by the Ottoman Empire. So by this time, this pirate, Perry Reese the Great, um, he's already um, ransacking and hijacking the Spanish Empire and the Holy Roman Empire merchant ships, right? Because he wants revenge. His family has been expelled. It's a perfect villain story. You see what I'm saying? But what's key is the fact that the Spanish Empire and the Holy Roman Empire were ruled by the same bloodline at this time. That's the Habsburgs. You feel what I'm saying? So by this time, Perry Reese, the Iberian Peninsula expolee, um, who has now taken over Algeria, like, this is impressive. So the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, right? He uh he actually recruits him. And so now Perry Reese is the admiral of the Ottoman Empire's navy. You feel what I'm saying? So now at this point in time, Perry Reese can really do some damage against the people who have expelled him and his family. You feel what I'm saying? And that's that's one of the great stories of Sephardic Jewish pirates, and that's not even getting into the Caribbean yet.
Mm. Wow, wow, wow. Like I said, there's so many rabbit holes you can go in when you're dealing with modern day mythology, connecting it back to Greek mythology, connecting it back into just our colonization and history. It's a lot of different rabbit holes we can get into with that. But we're gonna actually pick this up next week. But before we close out, I want to kind of recap a little bit what we just talked about, everything. Um, so Chrono, Saturn, the little black PDs, um, down to Christianity, colonization. Where do we go from here? We're understanding like how all this connects.
I would definitely say, mm, you can still hear me, right?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I would definitely say it's going to be connecting far as in today's society you see the relevance far as um even the name of Saturn, right? Saturn is the name of a Roman god. You see what I'm saying? Um and as well as Kronos, and as we now know, Santa Claus as well. And also Inky and Leo play into that as well. Um so it's tying in for a symbology. And then when we are tying into the fact that, we are seeing these representations, through these cultural traditions like Santa Claus from the Iberian Peninsula, you are seeing the presence and depictions of people of a melanated hue who are specifically wearing Creole earrings, right? That So the reason why the people of the Netherlands are speaking of the Iberian Peninsula in their culture and tradition is because whenever you are looking at the fact that the um the family that we just brought up, the Habsburgs, the same bloodline who were ruling over the Holy Roman Empire and the Spanish Empire during the time of you know, a large part of the colonizations of the Americas, even. You feel what I'm saying? So, what you have here is um, families from Spain and Portugal, people of that Habsburg bloodline are intermarried with the German Habsburgs as well. And then you also have a branch of um, the Dutch Habsburgs. Now, even prior to that, even prior to the Habsburgs' hegemony, far as the rulership of the Spanish Empire and the Holy Roman Empire, you have what you call in you know for specific research purposes, what you call court Jews. And the court Jews were financial advisors, and even much more than that during the reigning of certain monarchies, and I believe within even during the Frankish and Merovingian dynasties. And Frankish and Merovingian dynasties, these are going to be the kingdoms comprising the foundation of the Holy Roman Empire. You feel what I'm saying? And like we've just brought up, the soon to be head of the Holy Roman Empire in the Spanish Empire were the Habsburgs. You see what I'm saying? Now, one of the specific utilities for, um, you know, the courts, the court Jews were the fact that they had um, financial ties to where Judea, Palestine, the Holy Land, and beyond. deeper into the Islamic world. Essentially a connection to the Silk Road, if you will. So even during that time, you're seeing the relevance of the Iberian Peninsula. You see what I'm saying? And you're seeing how that role and position plays out through history, essentially.
Like I said, all these paths are hella deep, hella connected. And I'm pretty sure for anyone who's going to listen to this episode tonight, they are going to have their wig splits. They're probably going to have to listen to this more than once to get a really good understanding of what we were even talking about, tying this into certain key parts of history. And like I said, I know for some people they may succeed as mythology and say like this stuff is not real, and you guys are just thinking too deep into it, and yada yada yada. But unfortunately, we do live in a world where imagery, deities, all these things do play a significant role in someone's belief. It may not be your belief, but somebody's belief system. These characters are important, and they impose these things on you by making you worship them through these mythological ways that they put them in your cartoons, your entertainment, like we said already, et cetera, et cetera. It's everywhere you look around. And once you are aware and you're looking through your third and sometimes fourth eye, and you're looking at a fifth dimensional standpoint of life, you start to see how everywhere you're looking, at some point they have slowly but surely implemented their deities, goddesses and gods onto you, and you don't even know it. And this is why a lot of people that may be Seventh-day Adventists and these other religions that don't celebrate holidays, and it's a lot of times because a lot of these holidays do have sinister origin points. It's not what we think. And like I said, we can go deeper into holidays. And I do think we're probably going to dedicate our show next week into holidays, period. Because I think we set it on fire today, dealing with just Chronos and dealing with his connection to like I said, the little black Petey's, how that connects to the Moors, and what were they really doing. And then it makes you wonder, like, because you see how like Santa Claus always has like this sack, and it's always something inside his sack, and it makes you wonder, like, what's in the sack? Is it a child? Like, is it a child in his sack? And that's why he's running around with this red sack and getting his little reindeer cart and stuff. So we're going to get into the holidays and the sinister meanings behind it, and just and why you celebrate it, because there's something innate in you why you celebrate it, why you want to be a part of it. I know even for my own family, a lot of times it's like it's a feel good for us. It feels like the right thing to do. It feels like the American thing to do sometimes, to participate in some of these holidays. And it's really because we have been programmed to do so. And if you don't do it, you don't feel normal. You feel like you're the odd cast out. So yeah, I definitely want to thank you, Toka. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know you're going to be here next week. Next week, we're going to do another show. Once again, it's going to be the holiday show. And for my closing out words, I'll also say this. As you guys should know by now, the Velvet Door, we discuss all topics. We have certain nights that are dedicated to certain things. Sundays is usually when we premiere our live interviews that we do with some of the innovative and inspiring minds about time. And we talk about a lot of family history and et cetera, et cetera. On Thursday nights, though, when we're dealing with Beyond the Velvet Door, we're going to be dealing with topics that it kind of goes against everyone else's status quo, right? So I challenge everybody to research everything. And these are the opinions of all the speakers that have spoke today. Do not look for us to be the end all be all to your understandings, because I always host spaces to where I want people to research. I want you to look touch it, feel it, and understand it. That's the only way you're going to absorb it. Just listening to someone talking, it's trust me, that doesn't resonate with you. I know for me, when I was studying, one of the things that I used to have to do, I used to write it down. Like I have so many notes, so many notebooks, so much papers around me, even right now at my desk, so many papers of notes, just historical notes, different things that I have. Because that's what helped me retain my information. And anytime I came across something, sometimes I dream things. Sometimes literally in my dream, I see something and I'm like, yo, wait a minute. There's a connection there. Even like today, I saw a picture of it was one of the black aristocrats of Europe. And I saw the picture of this person, and it was a painting, and it looked like it probably was painted maybe 16 1700s. I mean, that's what they claim, right? And the hand placement looks so similar. And I'm looking at the hand placement and I'm like, where have I seen that hand placement before? I've seen a hand look just like that in a painting. And I know that hand placements are very important when it comes to any type of historical artwork. There's no trust me, for someone to pose for a painting or a portrait, that means that they are deliberately putting themselves in a position. It's not like a flick. You see, in a flick, you could kind of catch that person in motion when they just so happen to do something and you're like, oh, they just did that. But when you're dealing with a painting, then you're actually dealing with someone that's actually deliberately holding their hands or holding their head, holding their legs in a position to where you can capture it that exact same way, right? So the hand placement that I saw on this person, it was the same hand placement I saw in the depictions of Christopher Columbus. And I said, wait a minute, I've seen that hair placement. So more than likely, that is probably dealing with a Masonic hair placement. And what message goes beyond it? Only we can theorize where rabbit hole that's going to take us into, right? Only we can theorize that right now. But once again, for me, the Velvet Door, this is only about thought-provoking conversation. This is only about pushing the status quo. This is only about making you think, making you understand, making you want to research more on your own time. Okay. So I don't want anyone to feel like we are trying to indoctrinate people. You try to lead them the wrong way. Because I know how people get. No, whatever you heard tonight, I challenge you to research it, okay? Because even while we were talking, I was researching some things. I was kind of cross-referencing. I was making sure that if I said something, it was the right thing. Or even if Toka said something, I was like, oh, let me see that real quick, just so I can carry that conversation with them. It's nothing wrong with that. So Toka, once again, I want to thank you for joining us tonight at the Velvet Door, and he is going to be a regular here on the show. I thank you again, and we're going to see you next week.
Hey, much gratitude, much gratitude. Definitely look forward to it. It's always a pleasure building, always productive, and hey, definitely until next time.
Until next time.